thank you for joining us today. Yes, this is TAMIKA Franklin again at Precision Franchise, and we are going to be getting into some summer vibes, splashing into safety with this next franchise. So I am so happy to for our guest. I met Chelsea a few years back. She is so wonderful, and I'm glad that she is with this brand right now. And we're going to learn a little bit more. So meet my guest, Chelsea Charnette Maltez. And the brand that she's representing is called Baby Otter Swim School. So, Chelsea, please tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey to becoming the brand representative for Baby Otter Swim School.
Thank you very much, Tamika, for having me. I'm excited to be able to be here. So I've actually been in franchising for close to 20 years. I started off with my family's franchise back in the day. We were a retirement and estate planning franchise. We were one of the very first in the financial industry to become a franchise, and it was an amazing journey. I wore many hats. I joke and I say all the way from janitor to salesperson, and it's true. I mean, being in a family business, you do help in every aspect, and I had a passion in film and things like that, so I actually started off with doing their training videos and their webinars and all of that fun stuff. So that kind of got me more comfortable in front of the camera. And then from there, I became the sales representative for the company and actually brought on our most diverse as well as fastest growth to that franchise. And I'm very proud of that. But that's how I got exposed into the industry. So unfortunately, in 2017, we decided to stop franchising. That was an industry discussion and decision based on all the different politics at that time. So if you're savvy with that, you probably understand why we decided to do that. But I really missed my franchise family because that's what I started to establish with all the different broker networks, FBA being one of them, which I know you're a part of and how we met, and many others. And so I continued to be a glorified office manager, as I joked and said, for about 2 years or so. But then I reached out to some other friends and families that were in the franchising world, and I was offered the opportunity to be able to come on board as relations manager with the Franchise Brokers Association. And so I used to live in New Jersey, and they're located in Orlando, Florida. And they said, well, how fast can you get here? And I said, well, give me 3 weeks. And they said, okay, done. So I decided to uproot because it was just myself and my fiance at the time, now my husband. But we decided to say, hey, we're young. We've got no baggage or attachments. Let's do this. And we moved all the way here to Orlando and absolutely are so grateful for that decision and that bravery that we had to show. And so we had that. I was there for several years. I went from relations manager to production controller, and that opportunity allowed me the chance to learn more about other franchises. I actually got to help and handhold different franchisors, as well as collaborated relationships with our brokers, Tamika being one of them, with our different franchise brands. So it was a really great dynamic because of my prior experience. And from there, I then actually spent a year with Spadia Liana Franchise Attorneys. They're the top franchise attorneys in the country at the time, and I was so excited to be a part of them. I've known Tom and Josh many years prior because of my first gig with my family. So it was awesome how I got to be able to be with them. And in that role, I actually helped business owners become franchisors. So that was really cool, being able to help them in the full creation of their franchise. And that's how I met Baby Otter Swim School. So they were one of my customers, one of my clients, and I got to meet them in person because they're also in Winter Garden, Florida, which is just a stone throw away, which was fantastic because I didn't have to eventually make another move of any kind. And I got to know them inside and out and backwards. And I know their documents are up to snuff and top notch because I worked with the attorney that put them together. And it was really meant to be. So I went on maternity leave, and then some things changed in the company, and some things in position shifted. So unfortunately, I was kind of then just figuring things out at that point. Do I need to go back to work? Do I become a stay-at-home mom? Do I find something to be able to maybe fill a couple of hours a day? And when I stayed in touch with Baby Otter, because they always said after they're rubbing my belly, they said, he's going to be our star student. He's going to be our little Baby Otter. And so we stayed in touch, and they offered me the opportunity to be able to come on board and help them. And I am so connected to this brand now, not just because of a relationship as friends and as working associates, but now because my son has also gone through the program and I've seen it firsthand. And it's just absolutely incredible how well built They have their system. They've been doing it since 1975. So, I mean, they obviously know what they're doing. And we only started franchising in 2022. So I'm still in that building stage and that foundational stage, which is where I feel that my expertise is. So I'm very excited to have basically found everything I would have wanted to pick and create a position. I have found with Baby Otter Swim School. So I'm excited to help them grow and expand and save more lives, because that's really what our purpose is.
You know what? I'm so glad I have you on. It's like, so I known you for a few years. I didn't know all of that. Like, like
Yeah.
that's an amazing, experience that you
Thank you.
have. And I actually do, and I don't, maybe it's from you, but I actually work with some of the same attorneys, and I have them help me as well. And I also work with people who are looking to franchise their business, so I understand a little bit of that. I think we're going to be actually having someone later down the year to talk about the legal aspects of that as well. So that was
Excellent.
great. Thank you. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to know a little bit more. Tell us more about what Baby Otter Swim School is all about. And then we can go on to, well, what sets you apart from other franchises. Because I know I have a lot of different swim type of franchises that are in the inventory, but
Mhm.
there's always something that's going to set you apart from the others. So I would like to
Yeah.
know a little bit more about that.
My pleasure. So we are in business for many years, close to over 4 decades at this point. And they started in South Florida. And it was an interesting situation as to why they came to be. And long story short, Marlene Bloom, who is our founder, as well as Mindy York, they joined forces a couple years after Marlene founded and built the program. But the reason why she was in this position to build a swim school was because her children at the time, they were too young, quote unquote, too young to be able to have swim lessons. Because if you think about it, back in the 70s, there weren't as many options. And
Mm,
her kids were, 2 or 3 years old, and they couldn't find a school. So she said, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to build my own school. And so she built our curriculum and lesson plans that we still use today to be able to teach her infants at the time how to swim. And then she joined forces with Mindy because, unfortunately, the situation that occurred in Mindy's life that brought her to Marlene was her daughter Stacy. I think she was 2 or 3 at the time. She found her at the bottom of the pool. And
oh,
by the grace of God, she was able to grab her and revive her and breathe life back into her. And she was able to save Stacy's life. And when amazing story is that Stacy is now a franchisee as well, which is such a beautiful
wow.
connection. Yes. But because of that, that affected Mindy in so many ways. And she still thinks about it, even though it was 30 something years ago, to be able to never let that happen to another parent. And so
Mm,
they built the Baby Otter Swim School business, and then they were blossoming and having more instructors all throughout South Florida and up, up the coast and everything. And they wanted to be able to continue to do this, but to help more people. Florida, Texas, and Arizona are the 3 leading states in childhood drownings and deaths due to drowning to children. And it's preventable. And it's so controllable with the proper education or the proper tools. And that's where we really focus, is on the safety aspect of
mm,
swimming. And we have a program that is only 5 days. So we have the world's fastest learn to swim program in the country. And we are able to teach someone who is as young as 9 months old, or someone all the way in their 80s, which we do teach older adults, how to be able to save themselves in a drowning situation. We can be able to teach all of the additional strokes and the techniques and all those wonderful things that the sport has, but we want to make sure that people are being safe. So we're able to do
okay.
that in 5 days, 30 minutes a day. If it's an adult, we can always make it a little bit more time efficient. But for those little ones, they need to have that repetition. They need to have that time to be able to concentrate and then practice it afterwards and then do it again the next day. So only 30 minutes a day for 5 days in a row. That is our guarantee to be able to teach the child how to, what we have patented, turn, kick, and reach. So
Oh,
they're
wow.
able to fall, God forbid, into the water. They can turn themselves around. They'll be able to kick, reach, to be able to get themselves out of that water, whether it be on the stairs or the side of the pool. And like I mentioned before, my little one, he is 11, was 11 months at the time when he started this program. We had to wait a little bit longer. I wanted to do it sooner, but it was a little chilly, and I don't have a heater in my pool. So and we have to practice. That's very, very important, mom and dad. While you're out there listening, you have to have your kids practice. Otherwise, it's just, they'll forget.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But long story short, he was able to do it. And he can be able to now hold on to the side and just wait for me to come get him, because my pool's a little bit higher up, so he can't technically pull his little leg up yet, but he can get himself out through the stairs. And it's really miraculous that he was able to do it at 11 months old in just a couple of days. And we look forward to doing multiple sessions and practice because we live in Florida. So I want to make sure that my baby is safe when he goes to a friend's house, or one day when he goes to summer camp or anything like that. A common feedback that I get from folks when either myself or even the franchisees, oh, I don't have a pool, I don't have to worry about that. Okay, but there's lakes, rivers, ponds, there's the bodies of the water in your development. What if they go to a friend's house that has a pool? There's so other ways that the child will be able to be exposed to water. It's not just pool related, even though that's the first thing that you think about. So we really differentiate ourselves based on the safety aspect, the speed that we're able to do it, and the fact that we don't have physical locations. So we are a traveling swim school. We bring our school to your pool. And again, if the parents or families don't have a pool, they can be able to use a neighbor, friend, relative, development pool, community pool, and so on and so forth from there. So you got to just span out, go from there. So there's always an option to be able to provide some lessons to our students.
So a couple things came to mind. Well, one, I'm thinking about, because, when I speak with candidates, I really pay attention to some of the transferable skills and their passions, right? So, I feel like, well, this is going to appeal to someone who, have kids, or someone that's in the education field, health field, or things of that nature, really want to give back to the community, and things of that nature. However, it actually triggered a memory for me when I was, I was somewhere between 10 and I want to say between 10 and 12, maybe. And I remember it. It's so funny because it's coming to me now. Like, I remember we went to Jersey, as a matter of fact. My godmother was out there. She had a pool. And we decided that we wanted to race in the water. Now, mind you, I love the water. I still love the water. I can't swim. Kind of ironic to be talking about this because I cannot swim, but I love the water. And so we decided we wanted to race, but we were in the part of the pool where the pool probably hit us like maybe up to our waist, and we were fine. Probably even lower. We didn't realize that going to the other end, it was going to get deeper. So as we're racing, of course, that once it got to that part, we just went right under. And I remember it being so scary. And my godmother, like, she full clothes jumps into the water. Like, we did get saved, but I'm just thinking, like, I can only imagine like that nightmare of something like that happening. Like you said, we didn't have a pool, but we went somewhere where it was a pool. And can't swim, but we want to race to the other end.
Your kids, you want to have a good time. That's such a situation, because because a lot of families think, oh, well, I have, even myself included, oh, I've got the nets or the fence that go around the pool, or I've got a door and the kid can't lift it, or whatever it is. It takes seconds upon milliseconds to just you're throwing out the trash, or you're turning around to be able to grab your phone, able to then go outside. That quick of a second is when something usually happens. And when it's children, not maybe necessarily 10 or 12 years old, like your story, but they see something fun or shiny in the pool and they want to go and get it. And the little stinkers will find any way to sneak through it, or underneath, or around, or whatever it might be. And so we always tell folks too, some of the biggest things that you can be able to do if you're not able to immediately get lessons is to put barriers. So to have that fence, to have chimes or alarms on your door, so that way if they are able to open it, you're able to hear it if you're not in the room, so to run over there and check. There's a lot of other preventative ways, but the biggest and fastest and smartest way is to teach them how to swim. What's interesting too, a lot of children that are on the spectrum, that have autism or other, exceptionalities, they are more drawn to the water. And unfortunately, most swim schools are not equipped to be able to teach those type of children. They require a little extra hands-on, some different techniques and things like that. And we're very proud to say we have a 100% success rate with children on the spectrum.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, we actually hosted an event in May. It was called Splash for the Spectrum. And it was a special event here in Orlando, Florida. And we had different people and businesses sponsor children that were on the spectrum that their families couldn't afford lessons. And
Mm.
those 14 kids, because that's what we were able to do at the time, those 14 children were able to receive our Turnkey Reach program, just like any other child. And we're very proud to say that every single one of them graduated within that 5-day program that we did for them. So we were on the news. It was a beautiful event, and we do that every year. So it's really special, and we teach all of our franchisees how to be able to do those techniques. We've got certain toys, certain flashcards, and things of that nature to be able to cater to those types of children, or adults for that matter too, and
Mhm.
to be able to then provide the services to those that need it even more because of their attraction to the water.
You know what? So that brings another point that I would like to see if you could dig into a little bit further.
Yeah.
So can you share like for the curriculum and lesson plans, like what's unique and effective in teaching babies and children and adults to swim? What is it that's particularly unique of why it's so effective?
It's just how the system is built out, where we have certain steps and they have to then graduate to the next step. And so we do things very methodically, and we'll have different toys, techniques, flashcards to help explain. So if maybe a child's nonverbal, they can be able to see the picture of the flashcard to explain, okay, you're going to do this, or this is a kick, or whatever the other certain technique is that's necessary. And it's, a lot of programs out there teach the children to roll over on the water and to lay on their back and float. But what if they have long hair, or what if they have a piece of clothing, or they fell in with a towel or anything else and that's blocking them? That's not going to save them. So our techniques are physical, and we actually teach them how to swim underwater and how to be able to hold on and reach and to do the kicks. And so even like with my little one, they don't know how to kick themselves, but we're
Mm-hmm.
out there and we're kicking with them, and we're doing it, and we're explaining the muscle memory to do certain things and certain techniques. And we teach, and it's a lot of repetition. So you're going to feel as an adult, perhaps watching, for example, like I did, I was like, all right, he just did this already. He did it right. Let's move on to the next one. No, they're a baby. They need to do that over and over again. That's why they like to listen to the same songs 1,000 times. Same type of thing with the swimming. So there's obviously different plans and curriculum for each set of age bracket, and different levels. So we're not a one and done program. We would hope that they would want to continue. So there is lots of reoccurring clientele. There's also then the exposure to the siblings and the neighbors and the friends and the family and so on and so forth. So I would probably tell you that majority of our business is actually word of mouth. But then it comes, repetition for the same kids. So for example, one of our franchisees has 2 children that the parents just like purchase out 5 weeks in a row to be able to have swim every summer. And they just continue going through. We can go all the way up to swim team level. And we
Mm.
teach all of our franchisees how to be able to teach all of those different levels. So it's not just the super simple stuff. We do have, advancement from the different strokes to the different
Mhm.
techniques to all that stuff. And again, it's different for each set of age bracket and different level, and so on and so forth.
You know what, can you tell us a little more then about the training and certification process for
Yeah.
franchisees to become the instructors and manage their swim school business successfully?
Absolutely. So you're asking a fabulous question. I want to elaborate on it as well, because it's a perfect opportunity for it. So we are owner operated. So we do want to be able to have our franchisees be fully trained into the water, which we will do with them and for them. So having an aquatics background is not required. If they
Okay.
have a passion for the water, they enjoy working with children, they want to be out in the sun, then that's really the major criteria that we need. So we'll teach them the rest. So our training is a little bit more intense than some of our other swimming competitors, so to speak. So we are 4 weeks in total. It'll be 3 weeks in person here in Florida, in the water and also education about how to run their business out of the water. So I kind of like to joke and call it land and sea training. The fourth and final week is actually in their territory with one of our trainers from corporate in the pool with their own students. So in all technicality, yes, it might be longer training, but they're able to start making a return on their investment within their fourth week of training and possibly fourth week of being in business, depending on how fast they, schedule everything. So that way we're there in the water, making sure they're comfortable, they're doing everything properly, they are confident within that first week of doing business on their own. So that way then we can return back and they can continue on their own. So owner operated, we teach them everything. Certification, we are personally Florida State certified. So we're able to provide that education to them. So we're a little bit different, more intense than like the American Red Cross, American Red Cross. A couple other programs that are out there, we are, certified by the state and we educate them in all those different aspects, like I said, within that time period. That's why it's a little bit more intense. Teach them all the beginning stuff, all the way up to the higher levels, all age brackets, and we try to do as much hands-on as we possibly can. So it might seem like a long time, but again, you're going to need it and they're going to be exhausted. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So all of our training does include a partner or a spouse if they are not going to be in the water. So for example, a husband-wife team or a partner team would be a fabulous opportunity because one could be doing the physical lessons and the other one could be running the business administratively. So teach both of them that, but the franchise fee does include the training just for one person in the water. Now, what's interesting and so I want to elaborate on your question is because most of our franchisees either from the start or eventually will graduate to the level of hiring additional instructors. So they'd be able to hire these folks as 1099 to be able to have our training. So they would pay for the instructors training to come to us and have similar training, not as intense because they're not running the office, but they would have that in water training, and then they would be able to go out and do additional students. So we have a franchisee who has developed all the way up to, I think he now has 3 instructors and he still teaches himself because he just loves it. So it's a fabulous way to scale your business. A lot of owner operated concepts, especially those that are working from home, sometimes have that limitation or thought of limitation of that's not really scalable. And that's completely false because of our model being able to hire instructors. You be able to hire more instructors, you can hire, get more kids and you just continue to expand from there. So it's definitely a scalable, fantastic opportunity to be able to go as big or as large or as small and, controlled as the franchisee may want to.
That's awesome. So can you tell us a little more about the support that the franchisees are getting in terms of marketing, selling swim lessons within their territories, etc.?
Fabulous question. So we have a lot of technology and people in place to be able to help our franchisees with their marketing. So we do Facebook marketing, Instagram, most of the social media marketing is where a lot of the moms and dads are looking for their kids to be able to have these types of lessons. So Facebook is a huge biggie. We would have the franchisees join all of the different mom groups and neighborhood groups and things like that to continue that expansion of exposure. We do a lot of physical marketing. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like those lawn companies where you would go to the house, you put your little stick into the ground, be able to let people know that you're here. We've got the branded vehicles, we got the branded items that we're wearing and things like that. All of our franchisees are required to do at least 2 events in their community per year. So that would consist of something like maybe a Christmas stroll or a summer festival or something where they're going to have a physical booth to be able to get their name out there. Now, 2 is the minimum. I would tell you that most franchisees are going to do more because it's just a great opportunity to be able to continue the repetition of seeing your branding and things like that. So the marketing aspect, we have all of the access to the different vendors that we have for all of the branded material. All they got to do is just go to who we tell them to and everything's done and created for them. We've got a marketing team that has all of the different advertisements and all the different materials that they would need that would just then be personalized. They get their own website. And then same thing with the Facebook marketing ads and things like that as well. The franchisee is responsible themselves to respond to the inquiries, but we will help generate them and create lead flow.
So what would you say is a typical day in the life of a new franchise owner?
Love that question. They are in control of their schedule. So keeping in mind that the student does need to have 5 days in a row for 30 minutes apiece. And
Mm-hmm.
for younger kids, you're going to want to do them in the morning or the afternoon. And we don't really allow any lessons after the sun sets, just for safety precautions and things of that nature. But if they want to do it, Monday through Friday, if they want to do it Tuesday through Saturday, that's really up to the franchisee. If they want to never do a lesson on a weekend, that is their choice. If they want to hire instructors and have the instructors work and do the different hours that they don't want to, they can do that. When it comes to the actual schedule, because they're in control of that, they can be able to book the different students geographically and make their life a little bit easier as opposed to, pinballing themselves all over creation. So, and that's also the benefit of having instructors. You can have an instructor for certain segments of your territory, so they too are not driving all over and sitting in traffic for an extra half hour unnecessarily. So we have a franchisee, he lives on the beach in Palm Beach area, Florida. And he wakes up in the morning, sits on the beach in his chair, looks over his schedule, gets his stuff ready. He makes his, confirmation phone calls and then goes out and does his lessons and confirms with his instructors what they're doing. And then, he comes back, he finishes his day in the middle of the afternoon, and he has his evening back then with himself and his family. So it's a wonderful, flexible schedule. It is going to change periodically just because your kids are usually 5 days and then you move on to another student and so on. But you can book as many as, 2 or 3 or 4, a day,
Mm-hmm.
which is then 4 students a week, essentially, which is our
Mm-hmm.
minimum. Or you can do 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. But it really just depends on the person. And you don't want to overdo yourself because
Right.
even though you're not doing a lot, it's a lot of physical movement. But that's also where it's nice to have those instructors because you can personally do only a few, and then your instructor can do, a few here and a few there, and you just start to, continue to accumulate and accrue more and more. So you're in control of your schedule ultimately, as long as you're hitting your minimums.
Right. So, you know what, you touched on a couple of things. I've actually believe that I said through it. There's a couple of candidates that I'm personally working with now where I'm looking at Baby Otter Swim, just based off of some of the things that they told me. But if there was someone that came to me or someone that's listening, and it's appealing to them, what would you say, what can you say about just the overall advantages of becoming a franchisee here, especially just thinking about maybe the terms or your startup fees, training. I know you touched on a couple of things as far as that, which I think is great, is that flexibility. So
Mhm.
what's going to appeal to that ideal candidate?
It's a great question. I would answer it in two ways because I feel that some of our differences is actually speaking to more of people as a consumer. Because I didn't really go into detail how some of our competitors are a little bit more structured differently. So I did mention that we're not brick and mortar,
Mhm.
where a lot of other big schools are. So that saves you financially speaking, and many other avenues into that. So I don't need to go over the obvious. But most of those other programs are memberships. And if you're a parent, whether it be a karate school or swim school or whatever it might be, if you're paying a consistent monthly fee, your child might not progress as well as you think they are
Mhm.
because they're getting the money. So that is a big common thing that we hear, that franchisees hear as well, that, oh, my kid is not going past level 2 and I've been paying for 5 months. So that's why we really structured our program as the 5 days with that guarantee your kid will learn how to swim. And anything past that is just another 5 days. So that's always how our program works. So it's very simple to understand. It's more comprehensible, not only for the student, but for the parent. They know that they're not going to have this constant money out of their pocket. They're going to see a result and they're going to be happy about it. The fact that we're going to their house is also a great aspect for the franchisee to know that they're going to have their student. So they don't have to worry about the kid not showing up because mom didn't feel like taking them that day, or they got stuck in traffic, or whatever other excuses that facilities usually encounter. It's
Mhm.
different because we are going to their door and we get to be able to be there with them. That's also another aspect on the consumer thing, is that it's their house, it's their pool. So their child
Mhm.
is already comfortable there, as opposed to possibly getting the jitters or anxiety going somewhere they're not familiar with or a stranger's pool. They don't have to worry about that as much with our model because we're coming to you. And if it's not in your pool because you don't have one, you're going to most likely use some sort of facility that your child's already been to, whether it be a friend's pool or a development pool, etc. So you're going to have more of that comfort level, which helps expedite the whole process, if you think about it. So a lot of those aspects, I think, are sometimes forgotten. The
Mm,
owner operated, the no location necessary, the benefit of coming to the client, and it's not a membership. So yes, it might be, some franchisees might like that idea, but the fact that
mhm,
you're building that rapport and that trust with the client, it's going to turn into reoccurring or word of mouth or recommendation or the next child or the best friend or whatever it is, or even mom and dad, which
mm.
just happened. So,
Yeah.
and we're not, yes, babies in our name, but we don't only do babies, as I mentioned. We've got some incredible brand ambassadors, just to give you a story as to why this is so special, because one of them is Andre the Hawk Dawson. So if any baseball fans out there, you would know that name. He's a Hall of Famer. He used to play for the Cubs, and we taught him how to swim in his 50s. So he's now in his 70s, I believe, and he is a huge brand ambassador for Baby Otter. We also have an incredible young woman. Her name is Layla, and she started with us. I think she was 4 or so. Similar situation to our founder, Marlene. They couldn't find someone to teach their daughter at the time because she's on the spectrum. And
Oh,
we were able to teach Layla how to swim the same way, same program. And she is now a medal winning Olympian for the Special Olympics here in Florida. Isn't that incredible?
that is amazing.
Yep. Yep, swimming Olympian for the Special Olympics. So Layla is obviously a brand ambassador as well. And race car fans, Guy Cosmo, we just recently taught his child how to swim. And so he's now a brand ambassador as well. So you can see all their stories on our website and things like that. But we have some big names that we have helped learn how to swim. And so it doesn't matter the age bracket or if you're on the spectrum or anything else. That is our mission, is to be able to keep people safe and to drop those drowning numbers. It was interesting to me. I didn't mention it before, but when you said that you were your personal story in the water and the
Mhm,
water was only up to your waist or so, right? You felt safer in the water. Now, granted, you were, a young adult technically at that age. And so, yes, you had more strength and stability, how to stand and things like that, as opposed to little kids. But it only takes an inch and a half of water for someone to drown.
I've heard.
It's insane. And when you put it that way, you're
Yeah,
gonna have
it
more
is.
water than that in your bathtub, and drownings happen in the bathtub. So
Yes.
it doesn't mean your child's gonna be able to necessarily start doing the breaststroke in the tub, but they're gonna be able to understand how to be able to save themselves. And so we're a necessity, in my opinion. It's not a luxury. And parents, so speaking back to the franchisee aspect, parents will always put their children's safety as priority.
Mm,
We're going to be a little bit higher on that list as opposed to soccer, football, dance. All those
mhm,
are wonderful, but those are a luxury. We're a
mm.
necessity.
Wow. I can't think of a better way to end it. Normally, I try to get a final thought or, anything like that. And if you have, you have the floor, but I just thought that you did such a great job
Thank you.
and really explaining, because I've learned a lot here too, and I'm sure the viewers would feel the same. But if there's anything else that you haven't touched on that you feel like would be important for a final takeaway, the floor is yours.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll just add a little tidbit with testimonials. And I did share some stories. I did mention that my son was a student. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see a video that I posted of him swimming. And there's other phenomenal features that we've been on the news. I think we're on the news like 5 times in the last 2 months. All local within Florida, but you can definitely search them. They're all over our YouTube channels and things like that. And as I mentioned, we have helped many celebrities as well. Being here in Florida, we have that physical aspect, and we actually taught Gwyneth Paltrow's daughter how to swim when she was 2, Apple, her daughter. So she wrote a beautiful testimonial for us on our website and things like that. And it's just a great opportunity to be able to feel good about what you do every day. And the fact that you don't need to have that background, you just need to have a passion for it, will give you all the education necessary. And like you mentioned, being teachers and things like that is a great connection because of how our system is built, but also nurses, doctors, moms, dads, stay-at-home parents, mom and dads that are in transition. Now that your kids going to school, what do you do with yourself? This is a great opportunity because that schedule of their school life can also be your schedule for your students. It's very similar. And then you get to kick butt during the summer. So teachers, it's great. It's great for parents. It's great for, anybody who's looking for that transition out of corporate life or executive life that wants to be a little bit more in control of themselves, have more of that work-life balance, spend more time with your family and be more present. This is an amazing opportunity to do that. And you get to build that relationship with your community as well. And it's not just providing something that's fun, it's providing life-saving skills. And it's going to make one hell of a difference in people's lives as well as your own. You're going to feel good about what you're doing every day and laying your head on the pillow knowing you're making a difference. And we look forward to being able to do that with you. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be able to share our message.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for coming on to Franchise Vibes. And I think that the mission is incredible. And I'm so glad that you did join us to talk about this today. So I hope you learned as much as I did. I thought that the brand was incredible. We like to think of summer vibes and we think fun, which it does sound like a fun brand, right? But it's also a level of seriousness to it. And it's all about safety. And I can see how many of my candidates would love something like this. So if you did find this interesting and would like to know more about this particular brand or any others that may appeal to you, please let me know and make sure that you are reaching out to Tamika Franklin at precisionfranchise.com. And stay tuned for more information. Thanks again.